The 6:15 in Douala. Thanks and welcome to join me on the news. I'm Kejang Henry Athembe. We begin with our top stories. After Buya in the southwest region of Cameroon, heavy rains frustrate Douala swamp dwellers. All are battling with sleepless nights as the water keeps swelling in some neighborhoods. And 5 persons in hospital beds after sustaining wounds in a bloody farmer-grazer conflict in the north region of Cameroon. Top stories.
Canal International.
Thanks and welcome to join me. I'm Kejang Henry Athembe. You can hook up with us on our social media handle. Now let's flag off with this story. The mayor of the Douala City Council, Dr. Dine Roger, has condemned in very strong terms calls made by a self-proclaimed association claiming to represent the Sawa community. They call themselves the Sawa Youth and have called on shops to shut down this Monday in reciprocation of what they consider as an ethnic cleavage between the Sawas and some ethnic communities of the West region. Roger says that these people do not represent the Sawa community and has called for everyone to respect living together and the principles of peace. Ambo Gladys Diba.
This is the unsigned track from an association claiming to carry the voice of Sawa youths that has been circulating on social media. Its authors are unknown, yet it calls on the Sawa people and those of other regions to react to the provocations of the political pressure group, the Anti-Sardina Brigade. The Douala City Mayor, Roger Dine, has condemned the threats, saying calls for a ghost town March 20 for traders of the Western region are acts that undermine peace, social cohesion, and living together.
We condemn all these acts. It is not acceptable that here in our city, people try to develop hate speech and to fight against some categories of people, businessmen, and so on. There is no reason for that. That's why we say that we don't want a ghost town here.
The banishment of members of their community who are musicians and entertainers, that they are banished from running their shows in Europe, which in itself is scandalous and unacceptable.
The threats and violence to some experts are seen as politically motivated.
So these people in Europe, they don't stand and they don't represent the Bamileke ethnic group. They are bankroled by some wayward politicians.
Experts emphasize in order to curb the rising rates of hate speech linked to tribalism, the penal code needs to be implemented.
There is a law that was enacted in Parliament against hate speech. I think that law should be vigorously implemented and executed.
But we have to fight against this hate speech, and that's what we are trying to do when we are visiting all communities.
The Douala City Mayor is therefore bent on fighting against all forms of threats, be they on artists and on communities living in this geographical space, to maintain peace and promote social cohesion and living together in Cameroon.
Thanks very much, Ambo Gladys. The coming of the rains is having a very serious toll on the population of Douala, especially those living in the swampy areas. Now, the victims are already crying helplessly as they are spending sleepless nights battling with the waters that are swelling in some of these shanties. Sherifa Saleh, the report.
This is Bepanda, a locality in the 5th district of Douala. Inhabitants of this area are frequently exposed to floods which cause a lot of damage during the rainy season. Clogged drains, stagnant puddles, and humidity on the walls, they are desperate for a solution.
il y a l'inondation. On souffre.
We have a drainage problem, and the gutters are clogged. If the gutters were free, the situation would have improved. To circumvent these floods, residents are using the means at hand to protect themselves. They hope to have the support of the municipality to put an end to the unpleasant situation. Before, when it rained, we won't experience this. These sufferings began when the gutters got blocked. So if they were unblocked, inhabitants of Makepe Misoke suffer the same situation. They complain about the poor drainage system. Locality located at the mouth of the River Wuri, the city of Douala is more exposed to floodings. The inhabitants of the swampy areas are the first to suffer from this proximity.
At least 5 persons are now lying in hospital beds after they sustained very deep wounds in a bloody farmer-grazer conflict in that part of the country. Now, this is as a result of pressure on land, and the farmers are saying that the grazers are destroying their lands. Let's have the details with more in details from our North Regional Correspondent, Aisatu Buba.
It was a bloody weekend in the far north region of Cameroon as Mbororo herders and farmers in Kongola, Jolawa township engaged in a fearless fight with knives and arrows. The farmers accused the breeders of invading their farmlands, destroying crops. Millet farms were completely destroyed. They invaded my millet farms and destroyed everything. I had to defend myself. I struggled in vain to push the cows away, but they refused. More than 40 hectares of my farmlands have been destroyed. They even attacked us with knives. For years, these animals have been the source of great conflict between the nomads and farmers. The conflict is apparently a hot potato on the palms of the administration and traditional authorities who are constantly mediating for a truce with little results. We have successfully put the situation under control. Thanks to uniform officers, some of the attackers have been arrested. The worst would have happened, but for now, just 4 persons were injured. At least I thank my population for listening to the cry of peace and collaboration. No human life was lost, but several persons incurred injuries that left them on hospital beds. It is a case of these 4 victims undergoing treatment at the Marua Regional Hospital. The mobility of pastoral farmers and access to resources remains an important factor to preventing these ongoing conflicts from turning into community violence. In the meantime, some breeders have been arrested and detained at the Dogwa Ter Brigade. The arrest is seen as a leeway in digging into the root cause of the problem.
And we take you now to talk more acres on the just-ended CEMAC Summit of Heads of State, as the President of the Central African Republic, Faustin Ange Touadéra, is now the chairperson of the CEMAC. And he's going to rule for 4 years. Amongst some of the challenges will be that of economic crisis, insecurity, amongst others, plaguing the sub-region. Hyacinth Chia comes back to end of the CEMAC Summit.
It was a long day of heated deliberations between the CEMAC heads of state as they wrapped up the 15th Ordinary Summit at the Yaoundé Unity Palace. All the 6 presidents expected answered present alongside various delegations. Mahamat Deby of Chad, Faustin Touadéra of the Central African Republic, Denis Sassou Nguesso of the Republic of Congo, Ali Bongo from Gabon, and of course Teodoro Obiangema of Equatorial Guinea, and host President Paul Biya, outgoing chairperson of the CEMAC Head of States Conference. And in his address, Paul Biya underlined the need to fast-track the process of regional integration with the implementation of the CEMAC biometric passport that can permit easy circulation within the sub-region. He equally hammered on the need to intensify security mechanisms between member states and along the borders, with terrorists like Boko Haram insurgencies still a huge threat, not forgetting the economic crisis plaguing the sub-region imposed by the Ukrainian war. The different member states tasked to embark on import substitution policies to salvage the situation. One of the key moments of the summit is the handing over of the baton of command to President Faustin Archange Touadéra by President Paul Biya as the new chairperson of the CEMAC Heads of State Conference for the next 4 years. Issues of cryptocurrency and monetary policies of the zone equally discussed at length as the different states continue to evaluate the economic consequences of the digital money. The next summit, announced to take place in Bangui, Central African Republic, as a diverse population waited at the presidential entrance to say goodbye to the different delegations.
I appreciate that, Hyacinth. Thanks very much. And magistrates in Cameroon are being drilled on how to efficiently handle crimes under the international law. Now, the 3 days training is out to drill these magistrates, and it's come in timely at the time. This is a major issue in many countries, and this is the initiative of the Italian government to help the magistrates in Cameroon meet up with the international law standards. Beatrice Ngamo is our chief correspondent in Yaoundé and reports.
International crime is a collective term for certain extremely serious violation of international law. They include genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, torture, and enforced disappearance. Phenomenon most at times difficult for judges to resolve. Important, therefore, to equip Cameroonian magistrates with what it takes to better handle in an efficient manner this complicated issue in the justice world.
Develop technical skills of Cameroonese magistrates to be able to deal with international crimes from an international, regional, and national point of view. And we will deal also with specific issues such as international cooperation or transitional justice, which are topic of specific attention actually at the moment.
This to give participants elaborate understanding of the nature and range of international crimes, such as the necessary competence.
To share our knowledge, our experiences, and why not also to get some information from the people attending this course.
The experts are from Italy, fallout of the fruitful cooperation between Cameroon and Italy.
Second time that Scuola Sant'Anna is here at the ENAM, and we are confident that this will have a follow-up in the future.
The 3-day discussion will cover the theme and definition on the emergence of international penal justice, understanding the different types of crime in international law, and familiarizing with the international institutions in charge of preventing and repressing international crimes and others.
Well, thanks very much, Beatrice Ngamo. And 2 local players have been called up to the Lions Den to replace injured players ahead of the game Cameroon versus Namibia, counting for the prelims of the African Nations Cup. And these 2 players are Pai Collins and Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting, who were injured. Hyacinth with the updates.
Emmanuel Mahop, canon sportif of Yaoundé and top scorer in the ongoing Elite One Championship, is already mingling with others in the Lions Den, called up at the last minute by head coach Rigobert Song-Bahanak to replace the Bayern Munich goal maestro Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting, injured. And Thomas Etabawok, left back of PWG of Bamenda, another player of the local league, will be joining the camp this evening to take the place of Fai Collins Ngorang, equally put out of the double confrontation against Namibia by an injury. In total, 13 indomitable Lions are present at the Lions Den this Monday, March 20th, to begin preparation for the match this Friday. Among the early birds are goalkeeper Davy Sepasi, Mbabi Marcelin of Gazette of Garoua, Kunde Malong, Jerome Gom, and others. On the way and are expected to land in Yaoundé this night are a number of key players who were engaged with club assignments this weekend, like Carl Toko Ekambi, Christopher Wu, Nuhun Tolo, Jean-Charles Castellito, Brian Burmo, Frank Zambo Anguissa, and newcomers like 16-years-old Benjamin Elliott of Chelsea. Rigobert Song and his boys have had their first training session this evening while waiting for others to join the squad.
Thanks very much, Hyacin Chua, drawing the cuttings for this edition of the 6:15 News. I've been Kejang Henry Atembe, thanking you graciously for being there with us. Mark Chamu Lionel is coming up with the brief. Meantime, at 7:50, you will have Legisle Kanga for the French edition of the news. From all of us, the news produced by Sherifa Saleh and Colin Fwonchuang, I am saying goodbye.